Hey guys, so I'm back for another video, and I decided that since it's a beautiful day out, it doesn't look like it from here, you can probably still see some snow behind me, but it's easily 60, 65, 70 degrees here. It's a wonderful, wonderful day, and it's the first of the season that I've had off. So I decided that I'm gonna do a pretty special review today. Founders KBS just recently came out. So I'm going to be doing this one. On such a beautiful day, I might as well be doing a really high quality beer. Now, last year I picked this up, and I wasn't too big of a fan of it. It's a pretty limited release beer. Usually if you go to a beverage center, they'll tell you can only buy 1 or 2 bottles per customer, and that's usually per day as well. But I worked at a grocery store that actually carried this. That nobody expected to carry it. So I would come in every day and I would get 1 or 2 bottles, and it was all right. Nothing that I would go way out of my way to get again. So I decided this year I'm only going to do 2 bottles. So I'm going to do a review of one of them today, and I'll probably age the other one until next year and see how that goes. Who knows, I might just open it up for a special occasion if I have somebody who really likes stouts. So a little bit of background history on KBS. This is their Kentucky Breakfast Stout. This isn't just it's not their breakfast stout that's aged in oak barrels. This is, it's a different beer. But it's relatively similar. It's upwards of 70 IBUs according to the bottle. Now that means it's only about 15 IBUs from the maximum amount that a human can normally tolerate, or not tolerate, that a human can normally sense. Humans can't tell the difference between 85 IBUs and 205 IBUs. So this is pretty close to that maximum. That said, with it being an 11.2% stout, this thing has a killer malt backbone. So I can tell you from experience with last year, you wouldn't have guessed that it was 70 IBUs. It tasted a lot more mild. I've had IPAs that were only 50 IBUs that tasted far more bitter than this. With the KBS, a lot of times people will ask me, well, what does it mean when you barrel age a beer? For the most part, most people who are barrel aging beers aren't using fresh barrels, so they're not actually trying to add the oak flavor to a beer, like they are in the wine or the liquor world. In the case of wine, we'll usually use French oak or Hungarian oak, sometimes American oak if we're going for a more aggressive wine, and in the distilling world, for whiskeys, they pretty much exclusively use American oak, and for brandies, they'll sometimes use French or Hungarian oak, depending on what they're going for. But brewers usually will buy used barrels from either wine producers or liquor producers, and in this case, they're using bourbon barrels. So when you're aging in a bourbon barrel, you're not getting that oak character that you normally get in the wine or the liquor world. You're getting the character of the bourbon that was aged in. So aging in a bourbon barrel imparts more flavors of bourbon than it does oak flavors. In fact, most of the time when a distillery gets rid of their oak barrels, they're usually completely used up, and you won't extract any more oak flavor from them with any ease at all. But let's get this thing popped and poured. So, here we go. I'm pouring in a pint glass. I know some people would pour into a snifter, but I have a couple pieces of pizza over here, and I would love to eat this with, or drink this with some pizza. Really nice, beautiful head on there. It's a caramel color, really deep, dark head. Completely opaque beer. Yeah, I can't see even through the bottom at its thinnest with this. Oh wow, you get chocolate right off the bat. A little bit of, I don't want to say toast, rye bread toast, I would say. Toast that's a little bit darker. Coffee. No yeast or hop characters coming through in the nose. Alright, let's get drinking. Really sweet. Yeah, if I had to guess just on perceived bitterness what the IBUs were, I'd probably guess around 30 or 40. But I know from brewing experience, if you put a 30 or 40, if you put only 30 or 40 IBUs on something that has an alcohol content of 11.2 with a beer, you're going to end up with a cloyingly sweet beer. You need higher IBUs to balance that. Oh, this is wonderful. It's not one of those ones where I'm so big on it, where every single year it comes out, I'm going to go and I'm going to get 4 bottles, and I'm going to age 2 of them, and I'm going to drink 2 of them. No. To me, this is, it's alright for one of those beers. If you handed me one of these beers, I would be one of the happiest people in the world to drink it. If I've got the option to buy one of these beers, I'm probably going to. But this is not one of the ones where it releases and I rush to try to get as many as I can. For me, Firestone Double DBA is one of those. I absolutely love that. I can't remember when it's coming out again. This is it's a wonderful stout. If you're a stout person, you've got to give this a try. If you're a malt forward person, give this a try. I can't really think of anybody who I would say don't try this to. My fiance had this last year, and this was one of the few beers that she was able to tolerate. And she's had her experience with beer as well. She's not one of those people who goes, I hate beer because I had this one beer one time. No, pretty much every beer I've had, she's at least tried 1 or 2 sips of. And there's only been a handful of beers that she tolerates. This is one of them. This is one of those almost for everybody beers. My grandfather wouldn't like this, but that's because my grandfather looks at a dark beer and just shies away from it generally. But it's wonderful. It's very chocolatey, lots of dark fruit. A little bit of caramel, but nowhere near as much as like a traditional Doppelbock or anything like that. But still, it's a wonderful beer. Yeah, this is great to sit down to a meal with for me. If you have KBS anywhere around you, I would say pick up at least 1 bottle just so you know how it tastes, I guess. If you fall in love with it, like a lot of people do, grab 2 bottles. Drink one now, drink one next year when it releases again, side by side with the first one. I've got a couple buddies who try to get this whenever it comes out, who will go and get a lot of the annual one-time release beers, and they'll just sell them and do like a flight of 5 years in a row. Not with this one necessarily, but yeah, it's nice. I don't know how many times I can say that. If I had to rate this beer on a 1 to 10 scale, I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10 personally. It's just, I don't know. This is an absolutely amazing beer, but it just doesn't have that magic little kick to it that gives that beer that extra half point that I look for in saying this is a perfect beer. And I don't know that I've really had a beer that gets to that point. No, I have. Yeah, I've got a beer that I would rate a 10 for my personal taste. But yeah, very, very high quality beer. A couple of my buddies and I actually went out yesterday. We had this amazing day. I had some family stuff going on, and so did a couple of the other people. But we took the afternoon and we had fun together. And we went to the beverage center and we grabbed a few of these, and we all shared this year's KBS. And a couple of them are, well, one of the people is not into darker beers much at all. He thought of himself as more of a pale ale sort of guy. But I went through with him with a couple of my regular go-to dark beers, and he fell in love with those. And this one was by far his favorite of the day. And then my other buddy doesn't really like very hoppy beers at all. Kind of like myself, but a little more so. And he loved this. And this is 70 IBUs. Like, you don't get much higher than that. So just to give you an idea of how well balanced this is. Usually when you get a beer that's upwards of 11.2%, you start to run into some real problems with balancing. You get either really, really charred sorts of flavors from certain malts that are available, or you'll get really under-hopped beers. I've only had that as a problem with 2 home brews and 1 commercial brew, where my complaint as somebody who doesn't like hops was this was under-hopped. But it's pretty much always with those higher alcohol ones. And then the other problem is when you get to the 11.2 area, the ethanol comes through really forward. With wine, you're usually letting that wine sit for a while, and the fusel alcohols in wine will break down a little bit. Some of the really alcoholic smelling aromas just completely break down, or break down very well. Whereas with beer, you're usually releasing it pretty soon after you've made it. A young wine is going to smell really, really alcoholic for probably 2 months after you first bottle it. If we're talking about something in the 12 to 14 range. Same with meads. Actually, meads are really bad with this, because a lot of the times a mead will taste almost like rocket fuel in terms of how alcoholic it is for like the first 6 months to a year, depending on how good the mead maker is with dealing with certain conditions in primary and secondary fermentation. And beer, I've had a lot of high alcohol imperial stouts where you drink it and on the exhale all you get is ethanol, and that's a really unbalanced thing to me. I don't particularly care for it. Some people do. A lot of people who are like solid whiskey drinkers won't even notice something like that. But I'm coming from the wine world and beer drinking, so I definitely do notice that. And so will a lot of people who are just completely new to drinking. Yeah, I'm not getting much ethanol on the exhale here. The other day when I had it, I did. There's a really neat warming feeling too when you drink it. This is not a beer I would sit down in the middle of the summer and drink. This is about the warmest that I'm gonna drink a beer like this. Personally, stouts and porters really aren't seasonal. It's just what I think of. A nice cellar temperature stout or porter in the middle of the summer is still going to be a wonderfully refreshing beer. It just will be. But I tend to shy away from the dark chocolate, caramel, dark fruit sort of drinks that usually a stout or a porter or even a bock, or rather doppelbock will bring about. So I switched to something a little lighter during the summer. But yeah, wonderful beer. If you get the chance, pick this up. It's nice. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna finish the rest of this with a little bit of pizza over here. I know some people say pizza and a barrel-aged imperial stout don't really go together, but fuck them. I like pizza. Pizza's my favorite meal. I'm gonna have a really nice beer with my favorite meal. So that's what I'm doing today. There are certain beers that pair with other beers, that pair with other foods better. Certain foods that pair with beers better. But at the end of the day, like, I like these two things. I'm gonna eat and drink them together, whether or not they complement each other. It's just how I want to do it, and I'm gonna have a good time. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'll see you guys later. Later today, I might be doing another video or two. I've got a couple Sam Adams over here, 2 seasonals, two of the spring seasonals, and they're going to be pretty much out around here very quickly. So I figure I figured I would pick them up and do something on them. Maybe that'll be today, maybe it'll be tomorrow. I'm not sure, but thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.